No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Howdy.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Bronco Nation? Happy Tuesday to you here at Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. It is a Taco Bell J Tust Tuesday here at BNN. We got J Tust with us. It is a little earlier start time today, and we got football practice we want to get down for today. And so, Jay, appreciate you as always for popping on and making it work to come on a little earlier today on a day that I know you're super busy as well, dealing with stuff there at the house. So, Jay Tust, KTVB Sports Director, how we doing?
Good today, man. Basketball season is officially over. At least college basketball season. What a game last night. Awesome finish. Florida rallies again and stuns Houston. So kind of unfortunate that Houston wasn't able to get a shot off there at the end. Heart breaks for Kelvin Sampson, who certainly deserves to win a national title. And man, was his team tough. But ultimately, it's the Florida boys that get the job done.
I know a guy or two who would have liked Houston to not get the job done 2 days earlier. To begin with, but
amen on that.
No, Houston with the incredible comeback versus Duke, and then the kind of pretty much the same exact script, almost reversed on them late in that game the other last night. And so Kelvin Sampson, not sure how many more chances he's going to get. You do feel for him there last night, but I think third national championship for Florida, and they get it done, and now it turns to the offseason here. So it kind of hit me last night. I was like, man, the Crown Championship was just yesterday, and then now here's this, and it's just the way that the timing and all that goes. But college basketball in the works. I've seen all these, I already thought it was crazy to see the early top 25s for next year, but literally Kansas has 3 players right now, and they're ranked 13th in somebody's top 25. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is there's just so much movement that's going to happen over the next 4 or 5 weeks here before these rosters are set. But I guess you got to have your lists for clicks and all that. Did you have to do a final AP poll last night?
Final AP poll, and I went with Florida at number 1.
Tough one, man. There. Yeah. That was a tough call.
It's actually, honestly, the final AP poll is one of the easier ones because I do give, especially this year, because it was so much of the tournament was chalk. Like, you didn't have to worry about, Duke losing in the first round and they're your number one team, and like, do you drop them out of the ballot? Like, you don't really have to worry about things like that. The biggest one was probably St. John's, because St. John's, I think I had 5th going into the tournament. After their early exit, I think I dropped them to like 14th-ish, 15th-ish,
Any
somewhere
Mountain West
in that
teams?
range. I really, really wanted to put Colorado State in there, but at the end of the day, I think UConn got my final spot. They did go one step further in the tournament than Colorado State, but it was really, really close. I mean, had they beaten Maryland, it would have been unequivocally, they would have been a top 25 team, no doubt.
I remember one year Leon was like, not really complaining, but was kind of questioning when I didn't vote for him one week, and he was kind of like, well, how do you still not have us in the top 25? And it was something to the effect of like, I mean, I just went to the team that I had 25th, and they had like their resume wasn't even like still close to like all these teams. Oh, how do you not have a Mountain West team in there? How are they not ranked? And it's like, well, there's 364 teams. You can only pick 25.
Yeah,
and a lot of times 20 versus 30 is fairly close. But I remember it was like, okay, well, they have wins over this team, this team, this team. Your best win is this team. And it was like, right. Okay. All right. Sounds good. And like, he couldn't even really argue it. But Colorado State would have been nice to see that. But I mean, I don't think Nico Medved cares right now. He's at Minnesota and he'll.
I mean, another team that I didn't love putting in my top 25, but I feel like I kind of had to, was Arkansas. Like, that's a team that lost quite a few games this year, but they went to the Sweet 16 and were really, really close to knocking out Texas Tech to go to the Elite Eight. And they played their best basketball at the NCAA tournament. And recency's bias or not, like I'm just giving them a little extra credit for what they got done in the tournament this year.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
All that stuff comes out in a couple hours, though.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe you shouldn't have let us know that. I don't know. Don't get
no. I mean, like the final AP, like everybody.
We can probably guess that Florida will be number one in the poll.
Yeah, it's chalk. It's Florida 1, Houston 2, Duke 3, Auburn will be 4. Like, I'm almost positive of that.
He's Jay Tust, KTVB Sports Director. My name is BJ Rains. This is Bronco Nation News Live here on a Taco Bell Tuesday. Make sure you hit up a local Treasure Valley Taco Bell location. If you're looking for a job, they are hiring. They can help you out. And I got some great food as well. But Jay, did want to spend a good chunk of the show today talking about the news yesterday. Emmanuel Ugbo entering the transfer portal and kind of looking at this basketball roster. I originally intended to get your thoughts on the Crown and being down there, and then kind of talking some football with practice today and some interviews and things. We talked to Stacey Collins yesterday, but we'll have plenty of time for that. I think that the news of the last 24 hours here, Emmanuel Ugbo transferring. And I got to tell you, it is a tough spot because I'm not trying to, disrespect anybody or act like they weren't important to the team or whatever else. But I mean, I do have to say I was a little surprised at the amount of fans really freaking out, to be quite honest with you, Jay, and calling this a massive loss. And, oh man, this is another one that got away and all this stuff. I thought as what he was, Jay, a 10 to 15 minute guy off the bench, he was a valuable piece. But all these people saying they just lost their starting power forward or starting center for next year. Again, this is it's a tough fine line to talk, because I don't want to come on here and just rip on a kid or whatever. But I personally feel that if Emmanuel Ugbo is a starter for you next year, your team's probably not an NCAA tournament team, just to be quite honest. I think they can go a little higher and aim a little higher. And I think they were already going to aim a little bit higher. I mean, he was a valuable bench piece. I think if he had come back, you'd have been happy to have him coming off your bench. But I thought he played a little more for my liking, Jay, partially because of Omar Stanley's situation. They had to throw Ugbo out there a lot. I'm not a fan at all of him shooting the three-pointer. I know he liked to shush me after that one that he made, and everybody thought that was funny, whatever. But like, he made 5 threes all year. So I'm not sure I need Emmanuel Ugbo shooting threes. He had another bad one during the Crown tournament. That was one thing I didn't like, is they left him wide open at the top of the key for a reason. He continued to shoot some of those. I didn't think that was what his game should be, and there's other guys on the floor that should be taking that shot. So I didn't think he was a great shooter. He's undersized as a center. I mean, he plays really, really hard. He's a good locker room guy, good character guy. Teammates loved him. Good defender, but I think he was good for the role that you wanted him in, but I don't think a bigger role was going to suit him well. And I'm not sure exactly how it all went down, if they told him he wasn't going to have a bigger role and he wanted one, or they didn't give him the money that he wanted. But again, I don't say this at all disrespectfully, but I think they're just going to be just fine and be able to find someone that has a higher ceiling here.
I just don't think that you can compare or approach roster fluidity with the same perspective that you had prior to the transfer portal era or the NIL era or any of that stuff. Like, I think you have to go into an offseason understanding you probably are going to lose a couple of guys, right? And so that being said, you kind of look at that a little bit differently, like understanding that, like, if you're going to lose a guy, knowing it, like, that some type of movement's inevitable, it seems like. Would you rather lose a guy like Ugbo or Pearson Carmichael or Andrew Meadow? Like, those are the guys that are going to be the staples of your program moving forward, and it just kind of is what it is. Like, Emmanuel Ugbo took a nice step this year. Physically, he is very, very impressive. But understanding, like, again, that this stuff is going to happen, I think that you more or less take it with a grain of salt and move on. Like, I almost think that's what you have to do right now. And will they miss him? Yeah, he would have been an awesome guy to have back next year. Can they replace him? Probably. He averaged 3.1 points and 2.3 rebounds per game. You can probably find a way to replace that. And if you can't, then something's wrong with your program. So I think that, it's not the biggest loss in the world. It probably hurts a little bit because they spent a lot of time developing him over the last couple of years, and he started to show that growth. But we live in an era where, he might see a more lucrative offer out there, which is also an interesting thing because he's a foreign player and NIL just kind of works differently for those guys. So maybe he goes home and that's where he can get his money while he's at home. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. I have no clue, but I just, that's one where I don't think that if I'm Bronco Nation, this isn't Braxton Feely jumping in the transfer portal. This isn't Andrew Simpson jumping in the transfer portal. Like, I don't think that the sky has to fall every time somebody, decides to make this decision.
Yeah, and I'm sure the folks out there that say we're just Leon homers, whatever, Jay, are going to say we're just defending Leon here. Like, it's fine. I get it. That's fine. We're just being. If they lose a peanut,
you're not going to bat it. My point is, you're like, you can't you can't operate this way as a fan anymore.
I agree.
Like, you're not going to bat 1,000. Like,
I agree.
And I still think that if Boise State keeps Meadow and Buchanan and Carmichael and Bowie, like all of it, like, you still now have a really nice nucleus for next year.
Yes. If one of those guys leaves, then you're not
different conversation.
You're not going to hear us up here sugarcoating. If Peterson Carmichael were to leave, yeah, we're going to tell it like it is. That would be a massive loss for Boise State. If Andrew Meadow leaves, massive loss for Boise State. But right now, they didn't leave. Emmanuel Ugbo left. So and again, he was a very good kid to talk to. I enjoyed talking to him. I do think he has some potential, but there's folks already comparing him to, like, oh, it's going to be another Case and Pryor situation, and oh, it's going to be. Case
and Pryor was like 6'11" and could shoot.
Yes. And Emmanuel did hit like a couple baseline jumpers. Like he had, I'm not like he has a couple options here. Somebody says, was this a push out or is he leaving on his own? I mean, just being completely honest with you, my understanding is he got offered a decent amount of money already. And so I was told during the Crown that he was already told teammates he was leaving. He already got a bag, and wouldn't be surprised, Jay, if it was a team that Boise State played this year that he ends up on. I'll just say that. So, that's one case, is he gets paid and he says, I'm out of here. Or the next option, Jay, is he wants to go somewhere where he can play 35 minutes a game. And I don't believe that was going to be, at Boise State next year. Like I said, personally, if that was the case where they had plans for him to be the starter moving forward here, I just don't know if your team is a team that has the biggest goals that you should probably have at this point. I think Boise State had plans to try to, add somebody at that position already. I also think from what we've heard, Jay, they feel very highly on Dominic Parolin, the Lehigh transfer that sat out injured this year. I also think Ethan Lathan, the 6'10" kid that's redshirting this year, they really like as well. And so I think they feel okay about this, to be honest. And it's nothing against Emmanuel. I I saw like our friend Jeff Baker and a lot of these people just calling it a massive loss on social media and just saying that this is, Leon screwed this up and all this stuff. And I just flat out disagree. I think he would have been a nice piece to have off the bench, but I don't think he was projected to be a starter next year. And I think like you said, as long as you keep your other kind of core four at this point, I think you're going to be fine. And like you said, Jay, like this is what happens. Like every single roster loses guys. Like it is what it is. Guys come in. AJ Storr came to Kansas for 1 year, didn't do that good. And now he's going somewhere else. Like Dylan Anderson came in, they tried it for a year, it didn't work. He's going somewhere else. Like nowadays with the roster turnover, it's just, you're going to lose 3 or 4 guys every single year. You just want to not lose the Chibuzo Abos of the world. You don't want to lose the core key players. It is what it is. Like you said, he averaged 3.3 points, 2.3 rebounds in 9.4 minutes per game. Mm-hmm. He is an elite athlete. I get it. He had, you look at him, he's a physical specimen. Could he developed into a guy that's a little more of a role than he has right now? Probably so. But is he a guy for a Mountain West school that's going to get to a point where he's starting and playing 30 minutes per game on a Mountain West championship team? I'm just not sure, Jay. I'm really not. And again, it's nothing personal against him. We're paid to analyze this thing, how we see it. And it stinks. Would have liked to have seen him stay. You need valuable guys like that off the bench. So it's definitely a loss. I'm not saying, it's nothing. It's a loss. I just don't think it's a big loss that you're not going to be able to overcome next season.
Maybe we retire the number 10 though.
Who else transferred that was 10? Was that Abo?
No, but I just mean Boise State sports in general. Andrew Simpson wore 10. Taylor Green wore 10. Emmanuel Ugbo wore 10. Okay. So maybe nobody gets to wear 10 anymore.
All right. I could see that. If they're not wearing 2 either, right?
What's that?
Not 2 either, hopefully.
Yeah, but that's for completely different reasons. 2's the most loyal number. So
what did you see, though, in terms of Emmanuel's potential? And I guess moving forward here, just from what you saw from him this season, he did have some flashes. He had a couple of really nice games. As I said, he had the one game, I think, against New Mexico where he hit 2 3-pointers. But, I mean, he only hit 5 3-pointers for the year. I don't think that was his game. He seemed to kind of think it was because they left him open for a reason. He took a lot of threes. But I say he's undersized. I mean, he's 240 pounds. He's 6'8". But I mean, if he's more of a wing, that's one thing. But I'm just not sure he's the shooter to be a wing when he's playing down in the paint the whole time. I just don't. I'm going to follow his career. I'm going to root for him. I hope he does. I hope that he does. Have a career. And I'm not like I'm rooting against him. I just don't know if I think some people may have had a little overinflated opinion of his to this point.
Yeah, probably. I mean, kind of looking at his season, and it's not like he was counted on to be a big scorer, but he finished in double figures 3 times. I think he was held scoreless almost a dozen times. Like, I don't even know how much further I think we painted the perfect picture so far. Like, I don't even know how much further we have to necessarily go into it. Like, he had flashes. I'll say this: without him, they do not make it to the Mountain West Conference Tournament Championship game. Like they don't. Like without his 17 points, a couple of big threes, had some rebounds, 3 blocks. Like without him, they don't make it to the Mountain West Tournament Championship. And at the end of the day, I don't know how much that changes Boise State's season because they needed to win the Mountain West Tournament, obviously, to get into the NCAA tournament. So I don't know how much that changes things, but that was for sure. His game of the season, in my opinion. Without him, they don't beat New Mexico in the semifinals, and they don't go to the tournament finals.
So our man Nathan Carroll, he said he has a transfer. He has 2 articles. I'm going to post them as soon as the show's over. But he does a really good job looking at the numbers of all this, Jay. And Nathan said last night on Twitter, here's how I can best describe the Ugbo transfer. A day ago, I would have said Boise State's biggest needs were rim protection, elite shooter, wing defender. Today, their biggest needs are rim protection, elite shooter, wing defender. And so what do you just make, I guess, big picture now at the roster, looking forward of what you'd like to see Boise State still add with a couple of these pieces here and whether or not Ugbo's transfer changes what they need at all? Yeah,
that's kind of funny for Nathan because I think that those are something we all would have echoed. And just to actually have it click and line it up like that is I mean, that should kind of tell you everything you need to know. So, moving forward, that is what they need, and they're starting to address those issues. And It's kind of funny because there hasn't necessarily been anything official on Boise State's end or Dylan Andrews' end or anything like that, but it's out there by some pretty good sources that the kid's coming to Boise State. So I think that I would assume stuff like that's going to sure itself up here in the near future, but I think that his presence makes him a little better defensively next year. Dominic Parolin is another guy that he is just kind of laying in the weeds, man. Like it doesn't feel like he's getting any, attention at all right now. And yes, it was basically because he had a redshirt year because he was recovering from an injury. But they do like him, and that's the reason why they went out and got him last year, knowing that they'd invest in him in terms of getting him healthy. And then once Tyson Dagenhart left, he would hopefully slide into a very, very similar role. And they have some nice pieces, but it's up to this coaching staff now to go and finish completing the roster. But as it stands right now, they're not too far away from where they were going into last offseason. Tyson Dagenhart's consistency is going to be incredibly difficult to replicate, and I think they're going to feel that his void on nights next year. You look at his numbers and they're outstanding, but again, for me, it was the fact that he just did it every single night, which meant every single night you had a chance. That'll be the toughest thing to replace with Tyson. But they're not too far off from going out and adding a couple pieces and getting right back in the mix to contend for a Mountain West championship next year. Because you assume that Andrew Meadows is going to continue to grow, Pearson Carmichael is going to continue to develop, and excited about Dylan Andrews and Dominic Parolin and even Julian Bowie, who I think at times this last year showed that he's going to be a really valuable piece moving forward. And hopefully Javen Buchanan gets healthy in this offseason and can sustain what he's capable of doing, because that's another kid that, man, he at times, BJ, and I know that you got a front row seat to this more often than not, when he scored 28 down in the Cayman Islands and 27 in Vegas, like the kid can make it look pretty easy at times, very smooth. And so how can he find that consistency game in and game out?
And I guess we'll find out more about this, Jay. I think you have talked about this too, but I know he was playing injured here late in the season, so it sounds like when he gets some sort of surgery here coming up, then hopefully he'll go into the offseason, next season healthy. And I think that was part of the reason for some of his inconsistent games down the stretch. But yeah, I think he's clearly a guy that's probably starting for you next year, or needs to be. But if you had one bullet to fire, Jay, one magic wish from the genie, like they're going to add more than one, but if they add one, like what's the number one thing you want to see this team address in the transfer portal?
Oh gosh. If I could sum it up in a player,
are you thinking more like a starting center type, like a Mladen Armouche type, like a rim protector?
Yeah, I know that. That's what I'm down to. I'm down to like either Mladen Armouche or a Chibuzo Abo. Like I still think you need.
Any chance Abo would come back?
Can he?
Why couldn't he?
Isn't he done?
Oh, I thought he might. He doesn't have one more year. That's right. Maybe he is done.
I think he's done. I don't know if he's got a COVID or anything like that. I think he's done.
Yeah, they can always find a waiver for something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking for some reason he had one more year.
Yeah. I think that you would want like a guy.
Let us know in the transfer portal, by the way. What's your number one issue you want to see Boise State address in the transfer portal? What do you got, Jay?
I think it's a guy like that, just because I still don't know if they have that guy that can defend a Neat Clifford or something like that on their roster. So kind of a bigger, longer, athletic wing that can also shoot it a little bit. Like that would be. Those are just guys you need in college basketball. Emmanuel Ugbo, Chibuzo Abo, something kind of like that would tie this thing together. I feel like.
I do think they need a center, but I would love to see them just find some guy that's like a 45% 3-point shooter. Just find me some guy that can come off the bench and just hit you, go 3 for 5 every game from 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, dude, that was Buzo last year. Buzo shot almost 42% from 3, and could defend a little bit. So that's why I just feel like if you can
maybe
pick
you can
something,
find a guy that can do both. But I think the 3-point shooting needs to be addressed. It was one of the worst in Boise State history this year in terms of the 3-point percentage. I know that they're expecting Pearson Carmichael to help with that percentage next year. I mean, you take away Degenhart and Cardenas and Stanley, who Jay statistically didn't have great years shooting the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
I mean, Cardenas, I think, only finished a little over 31% from three. So you
Yeah.
take away those guys, and I guess naturally you just expect the percentages to get better because, obviously Tyson didn't shoot it the way that we know he can or that he was expected to from 3-point percentage. The overall numbers, they got better as the season went on. But I think they expect Carmichael to help with that. I think you expect Meadow. I don't know what his final number was, but I know it wasn't the percentage they thought he would shoot for all the talk of the 50,000 shots he took in the offseason and everything.
I'll say this about Tyson real quick. Tyson, if you take out the first 7 games of the season, Tyson shot 38.1% from three, and I'm going to go ahead and guess that was probably almost by far the most lethal on the team.
What was the season percentage, though?
His season was 34.9.
All right, so
not terrible, but you look at
that'll help the season. Just by taking those out. I mean, it would help the season percentage go up. I mean, yeah, I agree. He got way better as the season went on, and yeah, he was a very big threat. What was he, 3 for 3? I think in the down the stretch or one of those games. Maybe forget which game it was.
Down in Vegas, Tyson was downright insane shooting the ball from three. To be honest with you, in Vegas against George Washington, 3 for 3. Butler 3 for 6, Nebraska 4 for 9. So he averaged over 3 threes per game at the Crown. You'll take that from anybody.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that 3-point shooting on this team could improve, and that
doesn't change that argument. You're right. Like
I think that they expect Meadow, and I think Bowie getting more playing time would help because he's obviously a strong outside shooter. But I still think if you could go add one more guy that is just a very dangerous lockdown 3-point shooter that teams have to account for, and just a spot up 3-point shooter that can hit you a couple of games would be massive. But yeah, if you could tell me right now you could put Milad and Armouche on this team, I mean, you would take that in a second in terms of what he brought to the table, rebounding, rim protection, which they've never really had. Boise State's never really, most years they don't have a guy that's just going to block a ton of shots and scary in there, but some sort of rim protection would be nice to have. Yeah, I think you could use a wing, but if you can get the wing and the 3-point shooter together, that would certainly be nice. But they've still got, I don't know, 3 spots. I don't know how many they're going to use, but they've got plenty of spots, and they'll, try to address it. And I don't know. I think that I think they're in a fine spot. They deal with this every year. They have their pool of money, Jay, that they have. It's not endless supply of money. And if a guy like it's an economics thing. It's a salary cap type thing. If Emmanuel Ugbo is wanting a certain piece of the pie, you got to make decisions that are tough at some times and allocate those resources elsewhere. So if we get through all this, and those were the only 3 they lost, Lockett and Anderson and Ugbo, you'd probably say all things considered, it was a pretty good offseason to not lose any of the other core 4. Maybe fans are a little more on edge right now because they're thinking the floodgates are opening here or something a day after the season. I don't know. But I would just wait and see. And if they don't lose anybody else, I think they're going to be just fine.
I agree with you on that, BJ.
All right, Jay. All we know, by the way, for the schedule next year, I did check in, is the Cayman Island or the Maui Invitational, but they don't have any other games right now that I know of. No home and homes left. All those kind of finished up with San Francisco and some of those, I believe. So we'll find out moving forward here what the schedule looks like. But that's kind of now where the off-season attention turns. Mike Burns gets working on the schedule, and they get working on adding a couple more pieces. And Bronco Pro trying to get all these NIL deals done and locked in, and kind of go from there. So we'll keep the off-season basketball discussion going. We'll follow the transfer portal and all this moving forward here. And yeah, as I said, Nathan Carroll has a season review story we'll be posting here shortly. And then he also does have a story on the Emmanuel Ugbo transfer, and he'll be doing kind of player reviews here the next couple of weeks, every couple of days, looking at a player's season and then projecting their career here moving forward for next season for Boise State as well. So plenty of off-season basketball content still to come here on Bronco Nation News. But let's talk football for a few minutes before we get out of here, Jay. They're practicing right now on the blue. We'll do that here in just a second. But first, rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. They are the reason you're watching a free show here on social media right now. Our title sponsor, all of our sponsors are the reason, but in particular, our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and rowpaint.com. I had someone reach out via a DM on Twitter saying they wanted to get in touch with somebody at Rowe, and we got them set up, and I think they hooked them up with a nice little discount. So if you're interested, reach out to me. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, they can help you out at Rowe Paint. This is a Taco Bell Tuesday here at Bronco Nation News.com. TacoBellWorks.com is the website. You can get more information on applying for a job with Taco Bell, the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family. We appreciate their support of Bronco Nation News. And Raines family has a baseball game tonight. Might be another Taco Bell Tuesday in the Raines household as we get some Taco Bell before baseball games tonight. But great food, cheap prices, those cheesy roll-ups. My kids love them, and they're like $1. So highly recommend Taco Bell, a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location. And again, if you're looking for that job, just apply right there in this they have the paperwork right there when you walk in, one of the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking. Again, we're going to talk football here momentarily, but Idaho Central Credit Union, so easy to use. Raines family is so happy that we made the switch to ICCU, and you can as well. Again, online, ICCU.com. Hey, the $5 meal deal is going on at Jackson's. You can get 2 hot dogs and a kettle chips for $5. That's right, 2 hot dogs and a kettle chips for $5 at Jackson's. And don't forget, they got that 99-cent coffee anytime, day or night. You can get that 99-cent coffee using your Let's Go Rewards app at Jackson's. Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and game locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. You can check them out online at thespateam.com, whether it's a sauna, spa, pool table. They got you covered online, thespateam.com. Hey, Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordboise.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, we appreciate them for their support of Bronco Nation News. And if you're looking to buy a new car or truck, there's one spot. You need to go to the spot that is the biggest supporter of Boise State athletics and Bronco Nation News, and that is Lithia Ford of Boise. They got some NIL deals going for some guys, a lot of the administrators, staff, all driving vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. So some great deals going on right now. Lithia Ford of Boise online, lithiafordboise.com. And the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. They got some great gear there. You want to get some gear for the spring game next Saturday, they got you covered. That clearance rack there in the front of the store is the best value in town. The Blue and Orange Store, second floor of the Boise Town Square Mall there next to Pro Image, or you can order online anywhere in the world at theblueandorangestore.com. All right, Jay, we talked to Stacy Collins yesterday about the loss of Andrew Simpson from that linebacker room. We talked about special teams and some of the guys there, but Jake Ripp, we kind of speculated, talked about it. Sounds like they're kind of toying with moving him back to linebacker. His stay at stud lasted about 10 days or whatever it was, but I know they're going to try to go back and forth. They have some packages where he can do different stuff, but they were really encouraged about Jake Ripp at stud, but now just given his skill set and the lack of kind of experience depth they have behind him, it sounds like at least this spring they're now giving Jake Ripp some reps back there at linebacker.
Yeah, and probably a good move. I mean, I know that it's funny because it it contradicts a little bit of what they said a couple of weeks ago, where last year they almost threw a little bit too much at Jake and asked him to play too many spots and things like that. And now they're moving him again. But in this case, it would really feel like this is the shift that would be more permanent, if you will. Kid plays with a high motor. He can rush the passer a little bit too, like Andrew was able to. So I think that would be that's kind of the obvious move right now too, BJ, until you find another way to address it. If you want to find another way to address it, that's kind of the obvious move right now.
Yeah, I think that is good move probably, but they like him rushing the passer, so I think you don't want to totally give up on him, and we'll probably see in some packages and stuff where he moves down to the line of scrimmage there. Yeah,
that's fine, but I mean, again, they did similar things like that with Andrew too, so it's not like he can't be a playmaker, just moving back to that inside linebacker position, if you will, or outside linebacker position, whatever. It just changes up, things a little bit for him again. But there's going to also be a lot of familiarity there because he's done it before, right? So I think he's a kid that will be gung-ho to do whatever gets him on the field, and this might actually get him on the field quite a bit.
All right, what do you make of his thoughts at return game? Loves what Malik Sherrod's bringing to the table. We've all been very impressed with Malik Sherrod. He mentioned Dylan Riley has a chance to be an elite returner, but he said he's got to hang on to the football. So I don't know if he's having some issues in spring as opposed to we saw last year. But return game, Malik Sherrod, I know they like him at running back, but I know that was a big reason that Stacy Collins said they brought him in was what he can do in the kick and punt return game, which we saw on tape at Fresno.
Yeah, I think that one thing I want to make sure happens there is, still kind of waiting on Sayer here, right? And so if you're going to put Malik back there as your starting kick returner, you just want to make sure that some of that depth at running back is also ready to go. And if not, then maybe you do have to kind of decide who you're going to put back as your starting kick returner. But it would be really nice to utilize Malik back there because he's done it before at a really, really high level. And heck, Boise State had a front row seat to one of his kickoff returns that, I go back and that really changed the dynamics of his program, or of the Boise State program, excuse me, because that was where the Andy Avalos era kind of started to really fall.
That was the game where what's his name left, right? Eric McAllister left right after that, and then it kind of turned into things. That was the next game. The next week was the New Mexico game. I believe it might have been.
Yes, you're right on that. Yes, correct.
Now I'm looking at the punt return stats here, Jay, because one of the things we talked about when Stacy Collins came in was they really thought that they were going to be more aggressive in the return game because the year before they almost fair caught like every punt. Remember that 2 years ago?
Yes.
And last year that was one of the big talking points was, hey, you're going to have a lot more aggressiveness in the return game, and it really wasn't necessarily the case. I know that was one of the things that Stacy Collins said yesterday is they need to have more explosive plays in the punt return game. Boise State still 120th last year in the country, Jay, 4.36 yards per return, 25 returns, and only went for a total of 109 yards and 7.8 per game average on punt return yards. I know that's an area Stacy Collins wants to see improve.
And that's an area we thought last year was going to be improved. So those are like the game-changing field position flipping, hidden yards that really can make up a difference once you add them all up at the end of the season. So you really do. You would love to see them be a little more impactful there. And another thing, BJ, I think that's something that you could completely overlook last year when you had Ashton Genty continuously ripping off 80, 75, 60-yard runs. That's not necessarily going to be the case anymore. I'm going to assume it's not the case anymore. If it is, that would be a great problem for Boise State to have. But he covered up some of those issues with some of his long, explosive plays last year. So it would certainly help Boise State if they could find a way to gain field position advantage in special teams to help fill the void of Ashton Genty. Can you get 10 yards here or there? That at times, depending on where you're at in the field, like if you look at the scoring percentages, if you start a drive at the 25 versus the 35, like your scoring percentages really start to kind of jump. So how and who can give them that competitive advantage?
Another thing he had on his list yesterday of things that need to improve is the net punting. Boise State 2 years ago was number one in the nation in punting, 49.27 average yards per punt. And last year that came all the way down to 41st in the country at just 43 yards per punt. The same punter, and the numbers went down 6 yards per punt, Jay, when we were expecting them to probably get better and see improvement there. And we all like James Ferguson Reynolds, but by the numbers, he didn't have the best season last year compared to 2 years ago. And so it sounds like he's motivated to get back to that, but he's talking about trying to drop some of those punts more inside the 10-yard line. I believe the percentage he said was well lower than where they wanted to be in terms of dropping down on the on punts inside the 10-yard line. That's certainly something they're trying to do. But overall, I think that the net punting, Jay, is an area that needs to get better at.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. My app crashed. I would say that's the case. James was hurt a little bit last year too, and I don't want to completely use that as an excuse or anything, but I do know that affected him in the middle of the season and getting back from that. It did alter his, it is what it is. Like, especially he's a guy that can roll either way, can punt with either foot. He's known for his Aussie style punting. He needs his mobility and things like that. I do think it affected him there in the middle of last season. And I think after he kind of got healthy, you did see a little bit of a better performance there for a minute. But yeah, that was also a pretty drastic shift. I mean, to go from leading the nation in punting and almost losing 7 yards, per punt, that really starts to add up after a while. But that's also a guy that you have confidence is going to figure it out. It's kind of funny, BJ, because that's where we talk about the path to success isn't always linear. And when he comes in here as a freshman essentially and lights the world on fire, and he kind of just doesn't know any different, so he just kind of keeps going. And then all of a sudden he comes back and he's got knowledge of everything. And sometimes you start to think a little too much, or you analyze a little too much and things like that. And so now he's got another chance to really figure it out going into this next year of what he needs to be. And I would have confidence that James is going to bounce back and be just fine.
Yeah, he mentioned tackling as well. They gave some of the big returns they gave up. We've all talked about it. Lost them the Oregon game, obviously, with 2 returns for touchdowns. But overall, I mean, just special teams as a whole, Jay, like I said, they brought in Stacey Collins, gave him at the time the highest contract ever for a non-coordinator, and a non-football offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator in Boise State athletics history, over $300,000, which was unheard of to come in and do that for a special teams, special teams coordinator, but non-offensive and defensive coordinator in terms of the highest payment. And for the most part, special teams weren't great last year. They were very subpar. Like I said, literally cost them a chance at a huge win against Oregon. Overall, year 2, Stacey Collins, what do you just big picture think of the special teams? And obviously, I don't know if pressure is the right word. I don't think he's in danger of getting fired here if they have a bad year again. But obviously, special teams is very important part of Boise State's success over the years, and they brought him in to fix it, and last year it didn't really get fixed.
I think that one thing with Stacey is, I do think that his value goes beyond just special teams or the position he coaches. He is a very experienced coach. I know that Spencer leans on him at times. I believe he's got the associate head coach title or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
But, nobody gets a pass anymore in sports, and especially if you're coach making a decent chunk of change, you don't get a pass. I think that as we go into next season, though, the one thing that I would say is that his track record for special teams should give you optimism, and it should lend you to think that last year was a little bit more of an anomaly. So time will tell on that one. But I will say they can't have a duplicate effort like last year where, it almost always seems like they kind of get smashed in the special teams battle. Like you can't do that again, especially when you don't have Ashton Genty on your roster. I don't think this team was super flawed last year or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but any of the little blemishes that might have made a bigger difference if you didn't have Ashton Genty, number 2 covered all those up. And so now that you don't have him next year, you got to be a little bit better in a lot of different areas in order to not, have a noticeable drop off overall as a team.
Hey, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, Matt Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Check him out online. He'll help you sell. He'll help you buy. Doesn't matter how big or small your home is. He is ready to fight for you and get you top dollar, top deal for your sale at BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. Locations across the Treasure Valley, the Magic Valley, surrounding states, shop Ridley's.com. You can check them out, get more information, download that Skip app, get up to 40% off at the checkout line at shop Ridley's.com. If you're looking for a job, transportation, compliance service, has you transcompservice.com. Every step of the way, they can help you get into the trucking industry. They're a local company helping out folks all around the world. Transcompservice.com. Hey, Lean Feast had a Lean Feast yesterday. LeanFeastMeridian.com. LeanFeastMeridian.com is the website. If you're looking to eat healthy, the convenience of just popping a meal in the microwave for 2 minutes and eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish. They're feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. They can feed you as well online, leanfeastmeridian.com. Hey, speakpipe.com/BNN is where you can leave us a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail in the Signature Roofing voice inbox, and we'll play it on an upcoming show. And it's brought to you by Signature Roofing, covering our community for more than 2 decades. Whether it's a re-roof, repair, an estimate, or inspection, you can get it online at mysignatureroofing.com. All right, Jay, Zion Washington is talking today, a group interview. Very interested to talk to him because both his roommates have now departed, with Andrew Simpson transferring and Ashton Genty going on to the NFL, and he's kind of ascending to a key role here at the safety position for Boise State. But just what's your outlook, and what do you want to hear from Zion Washington today?
Well, now you put it that way too. Taylor Green was his roommate.
Okay, we're who else? Who?
I'm kidding. Zion's an awesome kid. And now there's going to be a little bit more on his shoulders to lead this defense too. And, replacing some of the intangibles of Alexander Tupner is not going to be easy, but I think that Zion's a guy that can help do that. He's really earned his role, worked his way up, and is a guy that, despite how productive he was last year, can probably even make a bigger jump. Not a bigger jump, I don't want to say that. Can make another jump this year.
Yeah, no doubt. So Zion Washington will be talking after practice today. They're on the blue right now, Jay. They have another scrimmage coming up on Saturday, and then next week they'll have a full week, and then believe it or not, next Saturday is the spring game here.
Wow, that's coming up quick.
And it's even
I feel like
spring, usual, the 19th.
Yeah, I feel like they have drug out spring ball about as long as they ever have. No, they have drug it out longer than they ever have. But it is kind of crazy to think a little over a week and a half away from the spring game. So that means that spring ball is almost over. And once that wraps up, it should be nice weather and, cruising into the summer.
He says this jokingly, but please do not let Zion room with Jaden Virgin Morgan or Madsen, according to It's Keaton.
Exactly.
Jay, appreciate you for making the time work here. Enjoy the rest of your day. We got practice. We got interviews. Plenty of coverage to come on KTVB later today throughout the week. Bronco Nation News as well. Appreciate you as always, sir, and we'll see you down there.
Sounds good, buddy.
There he is, Jay Tust, sports director at KTVB. Appreciate you guys for checking us out. That'll do it. A Tuesday edition of Bronco Nation News Live. And don't forget, we're going to have full coverage. Nathan Carroll have articles and things up on the website. We have his season review for the basketball program and also his thoughts on the Emmanuel Ugbo transfer. How big of a deal or not a big deal is the transfer of Emmanuel Ugbo? We'll get both of those posted here shortly, but we are going to race down to try to catch part of practice, which started about 15 minutes ago. So we'll get you some clips from practice, and we'll check that out and get our thoughts. And as I said, we'll talk to Zion Washington, a couple players coming up after practice as well. And Bronco 130 must have missed the first 30 minutes of the show where we discussed Emmanuel Ugbo's transferring and why we don't think it's really that big of a deal. So show is not really that short. We go 45 minutes usually, and we're at 46 minutes and 55 seconds. So we're actually at the normal length here. We just started early so we can make it down to practice. So if you did jump on late, you can go back and listen to the first 45 minutes. It started at 8:30 this morning. We apologize for the delay, or the early start. But full-length show just started early so we can make it down to practice today. I thought it was better to start early than not have a show at all. So you can head on back to our social media channels and watch the show. You can head to BroncoNationNews.com and read Nathan Carroll's articles a little bit later today on the team, on Ugbo, and all that good stuff. And as I said, Zion Washington, Amarian McCoy talking today. We'll get those posted on the YouTube channel as well. So have a great rest of your Tuesday. If news breaks, we'll have you covered at BroncoNationNews.com. Go subscribe. Go tell your friends. Go support the sponsors, folks, and keep these shows free of charge on social media here. We appreciate you as always. Have a great Tuesday. Get out to Taco Bell. It's a Taco Bell Tuesday in the Raines household. Make it a Taco Bell Tuesday with your family as well. Get the great, delicious, cheap food there at Taco Bell. And as always, support our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. All your painting needs. Make sure you hit up our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. And all of our sponsors, support them. And we appreciate you for doing that, as I know you guys do each and every day. So have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News Live. BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.